Hey everybody, this is Mike. Welcome back. Today I want to talk about two ways that we can improve our lives. This is about reducing depression and anxiety and stress and sadness and loneliness and increasing happiness and positivity and optimism and resilience. So today we're going to talk about how to reduce the negative emotions, but not necessarily build the positive emotions. The absence of negative emotions does not automatically mean the increase in positive emotions. It just means the decrease of negative emotions. So it's a two-step process. If you have a baseline of happiness, then that's where your baseline is. And sadness, depression, anxiety, right, anger, that brings you below the baseline. When you do things, which we're going to talk today about how to stop those, you just go back up to your baseline. What if you want the entire baseline to be higher? So the things that bring us down are again, not just the events that happen in our lives, right? Not just the adversities or the bad circumstances, but the thoughts we have about them. That's the heart of CBT. It goes back to Stoicism. It's not things that disturb people, it's the views we have of those things. And to the extent that those views are distorted, we're going to get upset. And we do differentiate between healthy negative emotions like sadness and concern, regret, versus unhealthy, which depression, despondency, anxiety, panic attack, unhealthy anger, guilt, shame. Those higher level negative emotions are usually caused by distorted thinking, where the more mild and manageable negative emotions are usually distortion free. So there's three ways of thinking about things. There's cognitive distortions, which are things like mind reading. I know what this person's thinking about me. Fortune telling. I know I'm going to get fired or fail that exam. Emotional reasoning. I think I'm stupid, so I must be stupid. Or I feel like a loser, so I must be a loser, right? It's like feelings aren't facts, right? Discounting the positive, discounting the good stuff that we do, magnifying the bad and minimizing the good, right? An unfair, unbalanced view of things. Overgeneralizing. These things always happen to me. I never get a break, right? All or nothing thinking, good or bad, right or wrong, smart or stupid, lucky or unlucky, like one or the other. These are distortions that we tend to have as human beings, and it impacts our emotion. If we think these things, and these are distorted, they're irrational, they're exaggerated on their face, the emotions we're likely to have from those thoughts are going to be more negative. So we want to challenge these negative thoughts. Where's the evidence for these beliefs? What's some counter evidence? What can be an alternative reason why people are doing it? What's the cost benefit for me to think this way? Is what I'm saying really true? Let me get some evidence. Let me survey people. Let me ask people if you feel comfortable. Do an experiment. I think people, think that this, I'm dressing, they look at me weird because of how I'm dressing. Well, dress differently and see if they look at you the same way. What would it mean about you if it was true? There's certain ways of disputing these distortions. Then there's something called self-defeating beliefs. Self-defeating beliefs are similar to distortions, but they're a little deeper. They very often come from childhood, and they are not triggered by any event. I said earlier that what happens is people are disturbed not by things, but the views they take of them. So usually something happens and we respond to it, and to the extent we have a distorted thought about it, we get upset. Self-defeating beliefs are not triggered by any event or situation. They're just ways of thinking about ourselves that we have all the time. Things like performance perfection, or we have to do things perfectly. We want to be perceived as being perfect. Achievement addiction, that we value ourselves, our self-esteem by our achievements. People-pleasing, fear of rejection, approval addiction, love addiction, a sense of entitlement, or people have to treat me the way I would treat them, right? These are self-defeating beliefs. These are just ways of thinking about ourselves and the world that we just have all the time. Nothing sets them off. But again, they're distorted because who's perfect, right? And we want people's approval, but do we need it? And everyone's approval, right? So we want to challenge these thoughts again. Where's the evidence for any of this, right? Is it really terrible and horrible if it doesn't happen? Can we stand it? Should things happen to a certain way just because we want it to? So when we challenge these things, we have a objective, rational, realistic view of things. And therefore our emotional response tends to be a little bit more muted, a little bit more mild to moderate and more manageable. And finally, we also have, people have sometimes a pessimistic interpretation of the world. Pessimists tend to believe that bad events are going to go on and on and on. They just last a long time, if not forever. Pessimistic people also believe that bad events have to impact every area of their life. So instead of being limited to a certain thing, this is causing me bad, it's my whole life. If something is going on at work, I can't have fun anymore, I can't go to the gym, I can't hang out with my friends, I can't even watch TV. It impacts every area of my life, and I can't focus and concentrate on anything. And another thing is that people tend to think that bad events are caused by them. I did it, it's my fault, completely. And also people that are pessimistic tend to think they have no control over anything. Optimistic people tend to think bad events are going to be temporary, like most things. Bad events can be limited. We don't have to let them pervade every area of our life. Bad events are not always caused by us. Sometimes they might be, but more often than not, there's circumstance or other people who are involved. And finally, optimistic people believe they have some control over the outcome. So, again, to reduce the negative emotions, you want to dispute the cognitive distortions, dispute the self-defeating beliefs, and change your pessimistic way of thinking to a more optimistic. But all of this combined will just get us back up to the baseline of happiness. These ways of thinking bring us below that. You get rid of them, you dispute them, you get into a habit of changing how you're thinking, but you get right back up to your baseline. But what if your baseline itself isn't as high as you'd like it to be? Can you raise it even more? Yes, and we're going to talk about that in the next video. Hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time.